AMD stock just reported earnings, and unfortunately, the stock is down roughly 8%. Now, on today's episode, I want to do the following. First, I want to take a closer look at the bearish side of the news. And the reason I want to do that is because there wasn't really much things to be bearish about. Too long don't watch. I think the biggest red flags, if you want to call it that, for AMD is one, they did not give guidance for the AI accelerator for 2025, which it seems investors are not excited about. We also see that guidance for next quarter is going to be a sequential drop, which is, again, not a big deal. And next, we also see that certain markets for AMD are still pretty weak. Now, those are the bearish points, and I'm going to go a little more in depth in today's episode, but there's a lot to be bullish for this company. And I'm going to say there are some hidden pieces that maybe some other YouTubers, maybe some other fin Twitters or whatever you call them are not discussing. And this is the best place you're going to get any semiconductor news. So make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, check out the pinned comment for special offer at fool.com/Jose, and check out my free daily semiconductor newsletter, whatthechip.com. So let's get started.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so let's start off here with AMD. Like I mentioned, the stock is down roughly 8%, and after hours, the stock is now sitting at about $108. Now, it is going to be pretty interesting to see how the market moves after the market opens tomorrow, because remember, sometimes after hour price movements are not what we're going to see tomorrow during trading day. I wouldn't be surprised if analysts actually do a little more in-depth on AMD's earnings call and kind of see the bullish stuff that I am seeing. Now, I believe for AMD, the growth story is not the AI space. And I've talked about that in numerous episodes, right? I believe for AMD, their growth opportunities is one, the AI space, but it's not the only one. Everything else can grow for AMD, and AMD can benefit from that. But if we look at some of the negative things for this most recent earnings, first look at financial outlook. Revenue will be roughly $7.1 billion. That is down sequentially while it is up year over year. Most investors are wondering, hey, how are you not like NVIDIA growing every single quarter? Remember, this company is not fully dependent on data center spending. They're also really dependent on the consumer space and the embedded market. So they do have a little bit more seasonality than some of the other semiconductor players that just focus on data centers. And while I am going to make some comparisons to NVIDIA, I'm going to say NVIDIA is still my number one company. I don't believe anything changes from this earnings. But I think the valuation of AMD is pretty attractive right now because of the various growth opportunities. The other thing is we saw AMD's Instinct Accelerator revenue this year did more than $5 billion. We didn't get an exact number, and that is scaring some investors and Wall Street. And the other thing is for the future, they're not going to give us guidance. They think that guidance for the first year of their AI accelerator was just to kind of understand where the business was at. But now going forward is going to be more looking at segments, and the data center AI GPU is going to fall in the overall data center space. So I don't think investors are liking that. They would have at least wanted to get some form of guidance. The final thing I'm going to say is the weakness here is the embedded market is still experiencing slower than expected recovery cycle. And this is definitely a strong cash flow generation and earnings per share generation for AMD. So those are, in my opinion, the biggest weakness for AMD in earnings. Now, there's a lot of good. And let me just say the good is very good from what I'm looking at. So first thing they mentioned is in this year, they grew in market share for both the PC and the server CPU market, which is very bullish. They also kind of mentioned that their server CPU, the EPYC, was over 50% share at the majority of their largest hyperscale customers. So this is showcasing that AMD right now is the preferred choice from hyperscalers who are the ones really spending this money. Now, outside of that, the enterprise on-premise is also adopting EPYC CPUs as they grew double-digit percentage year over year. So they are just demolishing Intel right now. So if you are an Intel shareholder, this is not what you want to see. Not only that, right? They mentioned that they are seeing strong demand for their new CPU, the Turing architecture, but they've also continued to see sustained demand for both their fourth and third generation EPYC processor, which is Milan and Genoa, if I remember correctly. With all this, they do see clear growth opportunities in 2025 across both cloud and enterprise based on their full portfolio of EPYC processor. So the first bullish take to see is AMD's server CPU is still very much bullish. And as we're going to see, the overall data center market is still mixture of CPUs and GPUs, and that is a very, very profitable segment for them. So for this to continue to grow for them in the upcoming year of 2025, I think can be overall bullish for the company. Now, we also are seeing the client market kind of picking back up 23% quarter over quarter, and operating income is up 62%. Gaming and embedded are still pretty weak. We can see on a year-over-year basis, gaming is down roughly 59% and embedded is still down 13%. I believe the embedded market, when it turns around, is going to be a nice earnings per share driver for AMD. So the first thing we saw was on the bullish side, they did see strong server CPUs. Now, what I want to talk about is their AI accelerator. Like I mentioned, I don't believe AI accelerator is that big bullish case that everyone's discussing. Like it's the only thing you should care about for AMD. No, AMD has a lot of growth opportunities. The MI300 is one of them, but it shouldn't be kind of excited or kind of overhyped like maybe some other people are doing. But on the bright side, they mentioned that for their AI MI300X, they are seeing companies like IBM, DigitalOcean, Vultr, and several other AI-focused cloud server providers have began deploying AMD Instinct accelerators for new instances. And Instinct platforms are currently being deployed across more than a dozen cloud server providers globally, and we expect this number to grow in 2025. They're also seeing an improvement in enterprise customers for more MI300 series platforms. So overall, they are making revenue, and $5 billion for this year was definitely no laughing matter. Now, what's very bullish for the company is they are receiving feedback of the MI350. And this feedback is so exciting with both existing and new hyperscale customers that they are actually pushing this earlier than expected. So now they plan to lead customers this quarter, send sample lead to customers quarters, and are on track to accelerate production shipments to mid-year, where previously was expected for the second half, further in the second half of this year, more like most likely November and December. Now they're moving production shipments to mid this year. So that's showcasing that they're seeing strong adoption and they want to move with it as soon as possible. What really got me excited here is they mentioned new hyperscale customers. You know what? I'm going to bet, I don't know. I'm not going to bet money because there's a lot of you guys watching. But if I was a gambling man, I would guess it's going to be Amazon that becomes the new customer of AMD's MI350. And the reason I say Amazon is because Amazon is working really well with AMD on creating a custom CPU. AMD has made a very unique custom CPU for Amazon AWS. So I wonder if that partnership is getting stronger and stronger, and if that's going to be one of the new hyperscale customers that is really, at least for the moment, pushing the MI350. Now, let me give you another secret hidden gem that most people are not discussing. They also mentioned that in CPUs and GPUs, they are also involved in a number of ASIC conversation, as customers want to really have an overall compute partner. So we saw the CPU is making an ASIC market. What if one of these players is also going to make kind of an ASIC or custom GPU using the AMD's application? So there is other opportunities for AMD outside of the AI accelerator, the MI300. I think the ASIC could be one of them, and the MI350 is the one that we should really be discussing. So one thing to note, though, is because the MI350 is getting some excitement, it seems like this company is going to have a stronger second half in 2025 because of that catalyst from the MI350, and might have a weaker first half. This could be another reason why the stock price is kind of taking a bit of a dip right now, as the market is saying, hey, look, why would I want to be invested in this company? But right now, things, in my opinion, are looking pretty strong. Now, they also mentioned looking in 2025, they're planning for the PC total addressable market. Remember, the client business is very strong for them to grow by mid-single digit percentage year over year. And they believe that they can grow faster than the overall market. Again, this is bad news for Intel. It means that they are going to be taking market share from Intel. Intel, in their most recent earnings, also mentioned that they did see a nice pickup in revenue this past quarter with the client business, but they expect the next quarter to be weaker than expected due to some inventory buildup. AMD is saying, hey, look, we're actually not seeing that inventory buildup. So AMD is just shooting shots at Intel and they're hitting. So Intel investors definitely keep some of these things in mind. Now, overall, the company mentions that for 2025, they expect strength across their businesses in data center and client business, modest increase in gaming and embedded, and they still expect double-digit percentage revenue and earnings per share growth year over year. And they do also mention that the AI franchise has more than $5 billion in 2024 and is expected to be tens of billions of dollars in annual revenue for the coming years. Not for this year, right? They didn't give that guidance, but they believe for the upcoming years, AI accelerator revenue can jump to tens of billions. So this is definitely a future growth opportunity for AMD. So overall, I mean, I think the market is really not understanding AMD right now. I think everybody is just looking for MI300 for some crazy guidance, but I believe AMD is going to give us an A plus quarter either either quarter two of 2025 or quarter three of 2025, and it's really going to drive the stock to some crazy levels. At the moment, I think AMD is definitely a buying opportunity. And again, for long-term investors, if you're a short-term investor and looking for 10, 15, 20% return in a few weeks, I don't think that's going to be the case here. As a long-term investor, I think AMD has a lot of tailwinds that I personally wouldn't mind throwing my money in. So take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.